Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rose not here?
No, she's Florida.
Good for her.
That's where I thought you were going.
I hereby announce that this meeting is being held in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Open Public Meeting Act. Proper notice of meeting dates has been given to the Morris Newsbee and the Morris Daily Record and posted on the bulletin board in Borough Hall. Roll call, please.
Okay. Mrs. Doherty, Mr. Drusilla,
Present.
Mr. Lombardi,
President.
Mr. McAleer,
Here.
and Mrs. Stecker.
Present.
And I will say that Mr. Doobie is here and Councilman Cortez.
Cortese.
Okay, move forward that we move the minutes from the February 3rd, 2025 meeting. Do I have a motion to move the minutes?
I just have one correction.
Sure.
On page 39, second line, it's Malapartis Road, isn't it?
What did I put down?
Not Avenue.
Oh. Okay, very good. Thank you.
I have another one on page 39. There's a few things here that are attributed to Dave that were me. The trees at the Mountain Way School out with the deer guard. And,
Where, what, can you just tell me where?
Sure, it's the 1, 2, 3.
Oh, the trees that was you.
Mhm, and then also
Where
the,
is it? Where is it?
says Mr. Doobie discussed the trees at the bottom,
Yeah.
that was me. And then Mr. Doobie asked if there was a system in place for DPW water trees,
Okay.
that was me.
Need to get your voice down.
Pull the mic a little closer.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so can I have a motion with the corrections?
I'll move it.
Okay, so Mr. Drusler and second by,
I can second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Voice vote, very good.
Comments from the public? Seeing there's no comments, I close the public session. Communications, I want to share something that Mayor Carr let me know that Morris Plains and 5 other towns are working on a waterway cleanup between Uranus Avenue and Hanover Avenue. This is the stream that comes out of Watnung Park Pond as part of a larger waterway cleanup to increase water flow and prevent flooding. The mayors have been working with the Offices of Emergency Management. This will take place at some point in early April in case you see them out there working. Okay. So I did just want to reiterate some things. So the last council meeting, I spoke in front of the council, the Borough Council, to give an overview of the Morris
Hold
Plains.
the mic closer to you.
Okay. At the last council meeting, I gave an overview of the Morris Plains Shade Tree Commission. So that was done. That was a request from our prior council liaison and now our current council liaison. I think that went very well. There's a lot of engagement and understanding now what the Shade Tree does. I did some highlighting at a higher level at some of the tasks that we do want to cover this year, mainly focusing on the expanding of the Arbor Day program and the additional planting of 2 to 3x the amount of trees that we did plant in '24.
And with everything that you have, I gave you a copy of his script that he gave to the council. Okay.
Yeah, each council member and Mayor Gar were presented with the 2-page document and the Forester Dave's contract that runs through 2026.
Chairman, if I can speak,
Yes.
it was very instrumental and very educational. No one really knew, and even Councilman Berger went out to say this is the first nice full report financially that we've gotten from Shade Tree, and I thought I'd give you that compliment, or everyone on the board.
Thank you.
Good to see that.
And like I said, I will continue
Okay.
to give that to you so that you could present on our behalf. As far as communications go, I do want to just give everyone the update on February 25th. I met with John Signorelli, the head of DPW, just to understand what DPW is able to handle versus what we need to have Dave handle for us. It is mainly smaller sized trees, more or so kind of that under 24-inch diameter is really the kind of the sweet spot there. In open spaces, as long as they have an open space, they're able to do the work. They are doing some work for us right now in Community Park that I will touch on shortly. That's kind of like the perfect location since they're able to just drop the trees out into the open field. Nothing around live wires, nothing that involves roping the tree to bring it down or climbing up the trees to get to a certain level in the tree to be able to trim the tree down. So with that, we'll move into the forester's report.
Thanks, Mike. We had a few memos, and then I believe there's a few we just received tonight.
Yeah, we'll move those into the April meeting, the couple that we just got now since.
Okay, I can touch on a couple, or one of
Yep.
them at least. 2504, 7 Diana Road. Resident called in, split tree. Rob was kind enough, or local enough to go right over there and take a look for us, and found that it was not a town tree.
No, there's a kind of like a deer run type of thing back there, which is what the resident had called for, so it was kind of a gray area, but it is their own property, and there is a fence between both houses there.
Okay.
That's where that tree
Yeah,
is.
no, that worked out great. So that was taken care of. And then 2505, it just came in this morning, Sun Valley Way, looks like 35 Sun Valley Way, and that's something that.
35 or 38?
It says 35 in the memo below. Looks like the resident from 38 might have called it in,
I don't know, okay, so.
because it has 38 and 35
Maybe I
below.
made a mistake when I typed it, okay? So
Because the
35.
tree at 35 does have a dead, decayed area in the top of it, in the canopy, but it can be pruned out. The whole tree doesn't have to come down, and that's something DPW can handle.
Yep.
So, I don't know if you want me.
DPW can do it?
Yeah, I don't know, should I report that to John, or do you want to?
I could add it to my
Okay,
list
fine,
for
yeah,
him.
perfect, okay. And then going over the new memos, the ones we just got this evening, 2506, the Franklin Road, that I'm familiar with, because that is an old stump. It's a 24 to 36 inch stump, I believe DPW did back in the fall.
Correct, they did the tree removal there,
Okay,
And how much does that cost?
that would be 385.
385.
And then the other two memos, 2507, 2508, I'll take a look at.
Yeah,
We'll take a look at and get back to you next month.
perfect, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, are you done?
Oh, yes, I'm done, sir.
On the first memo, 2504, not town tree, who has the thing to report to the resident that it's not our tree, or you have to send a letter out or a community?
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I
but
don't want them to
believe
think that we're doing it.
No, correct me if I'm wrong, but I
I went
believe
in-
you
I
did
went-
speak to them.
Yeah, so I went out there and spoke to both residents on both sides of the fence, and they worked it out, and the resident on the Maple side was gonna get it dealt with. So they were just, it
I didn't know, I just wanted to know that. The
Yeah.
public tents know up front, the residents.
wasn't really, it's like, I could've just said it's not a town tree, but I just figured I'd put them in touch with each other, cause it's a big like widowmaker type thing hanging up there.
Hopefully they both react neighborly.
Yeah, no, they both were wonderful, so I think it should all be sorted out, and the person on Maple said, I'll take care of it, so.
So future communications will be done by Rob for.
So it depends whose tree
Which
district.
district it is.
It is,
Yeah.
yes. So that
That
fell
was-
into Rob's
that
district.
clarifies it.
Yep.
They were both very thoughtful and pleasant, good neighbors.
Wait till they get the bill.
They might change their tune.
I'm paying 40%, I'm paying 30%. That's when it all starts.
Okay. Okay, so for old business, we will take a look at the worksheet. I just want to give an update on some of the items that were done here. On the first part of the worksheet is, to be continued. It's the second page that's under park maintenance. So under address number 4, which is community park, the batting cage area to the right of the drive. Originally, we had 8 trees that needed to be addressed here. Proud to say, in working with John from DPW, that DPW was able to help us out with a lot of these trees. So now there's
So
only...
the wind helped you.
Yes, the wind did do us a good favor there as well. So down from 8 trees, we have to move forward 4 trees that Dave can take care of for us, that DPW cannot. It's 3 trees in the 24 to 36, now just 1 in the 12 to 24. And that is $3,010. Another good win for us from a budget perspective is address number 5, also community park, roadway from basketball courts to the pool. There were 2 trees, one about 25 or so feet up the road from the basketball court, and then another one about 30 feet or so from the parking lot up at the top. DPW is in the process of taking both of those down as well.
You're dead, right?
Correct. The bark's peeled off of them in multiple places. And then, as far as the Watnung Park trees, we'll continue to keep an eye on those, most likely to process for the April meeting. I do, moving on to
You don't want to do anything on the worksheet?
moving forward to new business, myself and Councilman Cortese and Dave met on Friday and walked through a couple of the areas in town after we were reviewing some of the community park work that was done. Walked the same area on Sunday with Mayor Carr. Need to put forward 2 trees in the 12 to 24 foot size on the corner of Malapartis and Johnson Road behind the Welcome to Morris Plains sign. Both are dead ash trees.
Is it under park or would that be under, regular trees?
It's like Green Acre space, it could be regular.
So it's 2 trees?
Parkland,
Yeah,
Karen.
I think that's park.
What?
It's the
park.
Green
That's
Acres,
park.
it's park.
It's park, okay. So it's 2 trees at
Mhm.
12 to 24.
Yep, 12 to 24, it's 1040.
And no stumps, correct?
No stumps there. One of the things that I had addressed with the Borough Council was the expansion of our current Arbor Day program. So currently, we just service the Mountain Way School for around 205 kids. And speaking with the Borough School principal last week and gauging her interest on expanding the program further, really the only area of interest that there was to include the 3rd and 4th grade students from Borough School. So it's an additional 132 students. So it would bring our total number of tree saplings that we would need to about 337 saplings for Arbor Day. Going back in some of the paperwork that you provided, the sapling costs for all of those, plus the shipping, should get us to around $700 of
I'm
cost.
having a hard time looking, but I would just like to mention something. Arbor Day was always just the second grade when my kids went. Am I correct with that, Mr. Driscoll?
Only the second
It
grade?
was the second grade, and they actually went all over the place, because we used to get a tree. So the music teacher would actually, you know, wherever the tree was, the second graders went to where the tree was gonna be planted. And then it extended to all of Mountain Way. But it was always just the second graders.
Yeah, that was years ago, but
It was years ago.
as of quite a while now, it's been the whole,
And that's, I
Mountain
think,
Way.
is wonderful that it's Mountain Way. Yeah.
Correct, and it was more just to build on the great program that we already have, which is why I reached out to the principal of Borough. And I originally I maybe thought that we could do the whole school, but their level of interest really stuck with the third and the fourth grade.
So, but you're talking for Borough is just the saplings, not a program?
No, it's just saplings. Since they've already gone through the program being at Mountain Way School, she said it would just be the saplings. Before I move on to talk about the new trees, does anyone else have any new business? So I don't have to continue talking.
yeah, there is a tree on Malapartis Road that came down, that's laying there, that the road department cannot cut up. Can we get that done? I thought they spoke to Dave. Right there by the path.
Yeah, it's on the bend.
The one with those icy that actually passed that day,
Oh, the large one on the
Right.
path itself?
that blocks the path.
No, it came right next to the path there. It came, it hit the one sign, and the road guys took it out of the road, but the rest of it's too big for them.
Okay.
For them, and I thought they spoke to Dave and said, can you take care of that, so.
Yeah, well, this is the one you're talking about, is right off of Malpartis, it fell.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's right along the road of the blacktop path.
okay,
Okay.
because I know we looked at another one
Mhm.
down below that fell as well, okay.
We'll have to take care of that and then add it on into April since we don't really know a size on it.
All right, and I can talk to John again and make sure, it's, you know,
Do we have a price for that dead tree?
the fallen, yeah, for fallen trees,
There's trees, falling trees.
Yes.
so,
Well, and it's on the path, the blacktop path?
yes.
Yeah, it's on borough property.
Okay, yes, I mean, so if it is that, it's 24 to 36, it's $300 for a fallen tree.
We put that on our vouchers here.
All right, so that's for one tree, 24 or two trees,
One tree, 24 to 36, that's under the fallen tree.
fallen.
You cut it and leave it there pretty much, or?
We'll clean it up, we'll get rid of it.
I thought you said it was two.
No, just one.
That's the, that's what Johnson gave them out first. This is just the whole part.
Yeah, and that's on, right. Okay,
Yep.
and this is park also. Okay.
To talk further on the Arbor Day, Doherty has spoken to the both principals, will meet with them in the beginning of April. The program, we will have, the Borough Beaver will once again perform. We got that commitment. There was a memo that was given to me about Randolph giving out Arbor Day trees, seedlings through their library. I did go and speak to the people at the Randolph Library. It's the second year they did it. And the way they do it, they have people come in and give their email address. Now, their population's about 27,000, our population's about 6,500. So I said, how many trees did he give out? And they said 100. So that would relate to about 25 here, maybe a few more. I did left a message, I went over, left a message, but the director of the library isn't in to see whether they would want to participate here at Morris Plains in that. So I'm waiting for that. So that's where we're at.
Thanks, Barry.
And talking about that, I want you to know, everything is done for Arbor Day. The only thing I have to do now is the oath. Okay, but I sent everything in, and I have to call the school to know about the time.
Okay.
Okay? Because I didn't talk to them, because for some reason, the end of April, that week is always tested. So the times have been changing, you know, like.
They had it 9:15 last year.
Yeah, and the year before they had it at 10. You
Okay.
know, so I'll make sure, I'll talk with Chrissy to get that done. And as I said, everything else is, and we don't really get anything for Arbor Day anymore, like we used to get the banner and, you know, a lot of things. I think the only thing we'll get is the entrance, you know, Tree City USA.
You do have a banner.
You took my new banner, so the school now has 2 banners. I don't have a banner anymore, all right? I said I'll keep the banner here, and you said, no, we'll bring it up, so, but they
Well, if
should
they
have
got
it
the
too.
banner, then they got the banner
Well,
already,
They
good.
definitely have the one on the wall.
Yeah, they had the one on the wall,
And then
and
we had the
then
other one.
they had one that we said you could fly, so maybe
Right.
they have both, I'm not certain, you know? But if I get one, you know, you're welcome to it, but we used to get a hat, we used to get everything, you know?
Pins, right? They used to give a lot of stuff out.
I know. And I have to look for the seedlings, but when you got that thing from Rockaway or Randolph, did they say where they got the seedlings from?
No, I didn't ask that question.
Cause I would just be interested to know, because it's,
And what?
They said they
you
were
know what
very
type?
small, so I wasn't really gonna follow up.
okay.
They were evergreen saplings, it said on the memo last year.
I know Roe is trying to find, you can see.
You know, they gave me numbers to call, and I'll call them, you know. It's not that easy to get a hold of those people, you leave a message, you know, so.
I went based off the memo from last year to get a rough estimated cost of around
Yeah, because,
$750.
it was, used to be much cheaper.
Yes.
Yeah, and I reached out to the vendor regarding those seed packs where it's the seed and then they also plant the trees, but it's too expensive. It wasn't gonna be something that would fit within our budget.
But you're looking at $2.50 per sampling.
Mhm.
It's cheap.
Okay. All right.
I wonder how many
Went
these
through the-
take.
Yeah, I don't know how many can plant them.
Karen, you went through the Arbor Day site?
Yeah, see, Arbor Day doesn't, that I did, and I spoke to this one girl, Rachel, you know, to make sure.
When I looked
had
on there, it
everything.
looked like you could pick what kind of tree you wanted and stuff,
Yeah.
but then it just refers you to a local vendor and gives you a bunch of phone numbers, is that what it
Oh,
does?
okay, I'll look there, I'll see what.
I'll
they
send you the
say.
link that I looked at before, yeah,
Okay.
maybe, yeah.
All right,
Those numbers that are on the
Arbor Day.
Arbor Day site match up like pretty much almost to the penny on what we spent last year. So I think that's probably what we would have done last year.
Hmm,
all right, you just give it to me and then I'll look.
okay, all right.
Because according to, this girl Rachel, I have to go through the state, and she doesn't know exactly. But, and she's at Arbor Day for the state, so we'll see.
Okay. I have 2 little things, but they're small, well,
Sure.
one's small, the other one I think we can't really. I just wanted to mention that I registered for the core training class, the class has started, so I'm gonna be working on doing that through the Rutgers Extension. And Karen was nice enough to help me get some things figured out, how to do that. The other thing, I guess, leads into the new trees, which is, so of everyone here, I've probably been the one saying the most that we need to look at the report and the planting guidelines that are in the report. Well, I don't know if anyone else looked, but when I went to look, you know, I have in my district, the front yards are Frank, Sal, you can help me here, I think about 50 feet is the frontage, or is it required
No,
frontage?
35,
But-
10 feet, so it's 45 from the curb.
So, yeah, so this, you know, if you're gonna be 12 feet from a driveway on either side, and then from what I can see from the markings on the street, the utilities run usually in the center of the lot, you don't have much room there to get a tree in, you know? So I think that when we may need to revisit some of these and think about what the rationale is. There may be a good reason for some of them, but I think that if you're gonna have very few trees in the, what is it, the R2 zone, Frank? If it's a 40-foot frontage and you're gonna be 24
Yeah,
feet,
but
you lose 24 feet.
Let me say that those are general guidelines, because just like you say, if you have a spot and the power lines are coming in, you don't wanna park.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of try to figure it out. I mean, it's a general
It was the
rule.
underground utility, I assume that means any utility, right? Like water or gas?
Sewer and gas.
Yeah, sewer, so I mean,
And electric.
yeah, so, you know, you got a driveway on either side in most of those lots, and then you got the utility in the middle, there's no place really that you're
And some
trying to thread a
places,
needle there to get a tree in.
some places in town, the power is underground also.
Mm. So just something that I just wanted to mention that, you
No,
know,
no.
I think we might wanna revisit those, cause otherwise there'll be no trees down there.
No, and that's a good point. So some of the trees that we're looking at is one of the, you know, promises I made to the council with some of the work that we're doing in the park is a no net tree loss, so pretty much everything that's come down, we're gonna replant. So that's gonna help us kind of, you know, with what we wanna do, at least in the spring season. And then to your point, we will have to revisit some of these like smaller areas if there's, I don't know, an end of the street area that's kind of more green friendly to plant. So we'll have to take a walk once it's not cold out, and we can take a look at maybe some more areas to go through.
I picked some areas, but, you know, the utilities are, if you go by the utility rule, you're not gonna have much.
So what I'll pass around too is the tree list from Serbo, from what's available for this year. So there's the type of tree. I've added what the wording is of the tree. Obviously, if we were planting ourselves, it's a different price, but we get a 2-year guarantee from the nursery on the tree, so it comes out that no matter what we order is $3.95 a tree.
And they still haven't planted, you know, the trees from last year, because it's so cold.
Okay. My recommendation, because we've lost 2 up the road in the park, and now the 2 that are coming down, plus the entire area that we kind of clear cutted out because of the dead tree. They did clean up the brush as well, so we do have an extensive amount of space. And then in speaking with a resident and speaking with Mayor Carr, the property of Idlewild Pool along the fence that was cleaned up could use 2 buffer trees as well. I put together that we move for 15 trees, and at $3.95 each, it's $59.25, which is slightly about half of our planting budget. So this would already put us at more trees than last year, at 15 new ones moving forward.
Sorry, Mike, you're recommending that we replant on the Johnson and Malapartis Park area as well? Is that in the numbers?
It's 15 total trees.
That's a pretty dense population of trees over there already. Is there still room for that?
Once the 2 are removed, I would just put 1 kind of in that, like right by the removal, just to kind of put something back there. Because, you know, when those trees were healthy, it's nice right behind the sign.
Okay.
Does this include all the trees that Mr. Drucer recommended?
Mhm.
Okay, so you'll give me a list then.
Yep. So for me, it was, and what we could align on is that the types of trees that we would like to use. If anybody has any thoughts. I know what I had in mind for the two that I mentioned along the pool fence, but if anyone else had any kind of open suggestions on what they'd like to see, especially in the park property, kind of the clear cut area that we had to clean up, my thought would be to replant oaks along the way there.
You know,
Wait a minute, you're just talking 15 trees in the parks, right?
No, if we would have a few extra to kind of
Because
take,
we had 4 already identified.
yeah, so we could put,
And I have another 2 to identify.
okay. So we could, just for budget constraints right now, I would say we'll take the 15, we'll address
Yeah,
the areas
okay.
that we have to kind of plant from our walking around, and then replant in the, most of the trees in the park, and then do a second replanting, in the fall.
did you recommend any of these trees right here, like 2 trees in the Janeway Park? What kind of trees are they?
Those, I believe at one point, they were all ash that was removed in Janeway, so we can't re-put ash there.
When I went over there and looked, it looked like there were some trees planted over there already, aren't there? 3 small ones over there?
All I know is this was recommended by Mr. Drusler at the last
Did they already
meeting.
plant the ones that Frank had asked?
No, we didn't plant the other trees. I'm not aware of it. But, talking about this, we also have to remember, we have the 2 trees that, the 2 $400.
Yeah, well, those are going on Janeway.
Oh, the $400 ones are going on Janeway.
200 and 200, yes, there are 2, we have put 2 trees in Janeway.
All right, so
Park.
that's the money
On
that,
park, in the park.
okay. From that family, correct?
Correct.
Family, okay. All right. What about, to Schoolview Drive?
So that'll come out of the 15
Yeah,
total
but what
trees
kind of
total.
a tree?
So I would say, ideally, we're trying to plant, more native trees to the area, so there's a couple, on there, so personal thought, and Dave, correct me.
I think that was, it was a maple that was removed there.
Mhm.
There's enough room, you could go with another maple or an oak. I would probably do one or the other.
I would say either, we could kind of go through either maples, oaks, or,
So you'll come back with a list for me.
I'll give you a list of, what exactly tree was, because we have to be specific for the purchase order to
Correct.
serve those.
Right.
Yes, we'll work through that.
Okay.
Yeah, those 15 trees, the 5,900, what have you, that's already been allocated before, or we're gonna, it's a new bill?
So we have it currently,
In the bu-
as part of the 14 that's in there, there's plenty with everything that we've kind of discussed tonight to cover that prior to a new budget coming down.
So I wonder if maybe we should, just have a few thoughts about this. So I'm all for planting trees, everybody on here is, I think. Just a few things, like, if it's as Marion said, if it's a dense area, it seems to me likely that there'd be volunteer trees that would, grow there, depending on the kind of tree and the canopy. So I just wonder if we have a limited amount of funds, if that's the best use of them. And I think that speaks to a concern I tried to bring up last time, which is, I feel like we don't have a priority plan for how we're doing the planting. Like, what is it that we're trying to accomplish? Are we balancing between the different areas? I guess I'm just worried, Mike, because it's like, there's a lot of trees in Community Park, and then there's other places where there's fewer. So do we, are we planting trees where there already are trees instead of where there aren't?
Well, the spot in Community Park now, by the batting cages between DPW and what Dave will take care of, there's about 12 trees that were removed there, and it is pretty open now.
Right next to where that little sort of jut out hill part is up there?
Yeah, so it starts from pretty much the end of the batting cage right by the field, going all the way to the fence. It was cleaned out like very well, because there was a lot of dead trees in there. So that area itself could probably use, if you don't wanna replant every single tree,
I'm not here to dictate, I mean, we're
No,
gonna think of it as a committee, I'm just trying to think about, like, what is how should we prioritize what we're planning, because we have limited funds, we also haven't heard about the budget yet. And I think that, you know, if we spend out too much at the beginning, but then we have to run up against that we need to get them, the decision made, they're planted. My recommendation would be that we make a list, we all go and look at the locations, we all think about, okay, what do we think is most important in terms of where we need trees in town, what their purpose is, like you had mentioned, just as an example, like maybe there's certain locations even within the park that shade the playground, or in another park that
Correct.
shade the playground. Maybe shading the batting cage is important, maybe it's not, I don't know. So I just think we wanna be intentional about this, that's what I'm trying to say. And to me, it feels like I'm not quite sure if we are.
no, and
I think it's important to replace those trees because they were all cut down and you have residents back there who had this buffer. Now their buffer has kind of disappeared. So I think you should replace their buffer. That's
So
my opinion.
just for the record, we've planted 30 trees in the last 5 years, and we're gonna plant 6 in the same location. To me, that seems like something we should at least consider before going ahead with it.
I don't know, yeah.
You know, that's what I'm saying.
I
I don't think I would just like to look, I'd like to think about it a little bit. I think it would make sense for us to have a list, and then all sort of prioritize and think, and maybe that is the best use.
agree with you, but there was already,
I don't think you can give it the idea that we only planted 30 trees in 5 years when we got a grant for 408 trees and we planted those
That
in
was in
5 years.
2014, Frank,
2014 to 2018,
okay?
okay?
It's
And we
2025.
planted, in fact, we had trouble finding locations in 17 and 18 to plant the trees, but we planted them. And then, you know, I guess they didn't see the need, the Shade Tree Commission didn't see the need. And then we had the pandemic.
Respectfully, I disagree. I think that the numbers show that we haven't been planting that many trees in recent years.
which is what I'm trying to resolve right away at the start of the year. And that was the commitment that I made to the council, that we would not remove a tree and not replant something there. That was the commitment that was made to them. So,
I'm not against your suggestions, Mike. I don't know if we're voting on this right now. I'm not comfortable without looking at the locations. I'd like to vote. I'd like to see the locations and be able to look at them before I vote on allocating the money, especially where it's the bulk of our planning budget and we don't know what our budget is gonna be from the council yet. That's where I stand on it. Unless the time squeeze is too tight, Dave, when do the trees need to go in the ground? Do we have another meeting before we have another meeting?
It honestly really depends on Servo's turnaround time. I mean, because really, April, early May, the latest, you want to get them in the ground. So it really depends. If they're still waiting on trees from last year, you might be time sensitive with, again, I can't speak for Servo on their timing.
so just in the understanding, when I spoke with them this morning to understand the pricing here, because obviously in the pricing list, if you order sub 10 trees, it's one thing. If you order more than 10, it's another thing. So I was trying to understand how those prices impact what we pay per tree to them. Right now, they're in a 6 to 8 week time frame for planting. So that puts us into May,
You're pushing it.
which is pushing it.
And then, like I said, if they get backed up or they can't dig with the weather, you're into June, July, then you're probably gonna say, hold off, let's wait till the fall. And then I think this domino cycle, is what happens. I mean, it's up obviously to committee, but if you can approve, at least allocate the money for the trees, so you have the 15 trees from Servo, say, look, we're committed to 15 trees, and then, it'll give a month for everybody to decide where they should go.
Correct.
I think that would make the most sense.
Dave, when's the fall planting? What's the,
Well, I mean, you have a larger window, usually October, the ground freezes, so October, November.
They were planted in December this year.
Which is fine.
Yeah, we have 4 trees that were authorized in the fall, we still haven't planted. I mean, we should be planting some trees in my mind. We should be planting some.
Just real quick, I mean, that community park, I did take a look at it today, so it is I understand, like you said, trying to space out 15 trees throughout the town. It is a big open area now. Like Frank mentioned, the neighbors, and you also have to concern, you can have erosion issues also, because that's a slope.
Correct.
So, yeah, I wouldn't say, I mean, you could probably put 15, 20 trees, honestly, in that area. I'm not suggesting that, I'm saying you probably could, that's how open it is now, especially once they take out all that underbrush in there.
Correct.
So, I don't know, maybe we can talk to Servo, maybe get a smaller size caliper, would save us money. You could maybe put some more trees, you know, maybe go 1.5 to 2 inches instead of 2.5 in that area.
Mhm.
So maybe we can get, you know, maybe you could put 4 or 5 trees in that area, but they'll save some money. I don't know if that's an option.
So I mean, for right now, I think we have to get them ordered, and then we could work through on other locations outside of just Community Park. We already have some identified. 2 need to be planted in front of the Idlewild Pool. So there's plenty of locations to get these 15 trees in the ground pretty quickly.
And the 2 trees from the family is not included in on this?
No, not in the 15, no. So it would be 17 trees that would be ordered.
All right. And the ones you want in there is pin oaks?
We'll work through.
So we identified last time 4 different trees, so none of those are included.
No, those are in the 15, in
Okay.
your 15, yep.
And can I just ask you the other?
Well, those Janeway trees are in those 4 trees.
Yes, but then they were telling me just now that it's not included. They're gonna be the trees from that family that gave us the money.
Yeah, I know.
So the 2 will be from the Janeway, that'll be outside then of the 15, since we have that.
That's
Correct.
correct.
Yeah.
But Mr. Drexler included those 2 trees in the minutes that we needed a planting. We're just, okay. So technically, the 4 trees that you wanted, or whatever the trees were last week, if I have this correct, you have 4 trees, it's only 2 trees, okay? The 2 trees at Janeway is really not on there, and it's just the 1 tree at Schoolview and 1 at 168 Mountain Way. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
So
Says it right in the minutes.
Yeah, right.
So Rob, your point taken. My opinion is that I think we should earmark the money for the trees and then work through where those trees go, just because the planting cycle is gonna be so close, and then we can work through exactly where we're going. Is it the 6 trees over, by Community Park? Do we need to figure some of that out? I personally I'd be comfortable with that, if that makes you more comfortable as well.
Yeah, but I just wanna see the location, if we're gonna put that many of our
That's what I mean.
resources in one place, I'd like to
Yeah.
at least be able to think about it a little bit.
But for now,
we
just
can't- we can't put-
purchase the trees and then figure out where we're gonna put
I
it.
think that sounds like a great compromise.
Yeah.
Does that work with Servo, or do we have to have what kind of tree, you know what I mean, in order to get in their queue, do we need to have the variety picked?
I
So,
still think we can pick the variety.
no, so you can pick the variety, you just need to give them,
They just want the money.
No, I haven't paid them as of yet.
no, we need to just get on their books, so that they, on their,
Or in their
Calendar, so
planning
they
plan.
in their planning cycle, so that they could
So
come
we don't miss
to
Okay,
us.
well, to me, that sounds like a good compromise, Mary, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, that's all right
Is
with
everybody
everybody else.
comfortable with that?
What is the compromise?
To go ahead and put in the order for the trees and then work through where we're going to put them.
Okay.
So that we all feel comfortable with what goes where.
That's best practice.
Yep.
I think that makes the most sense.
And I just want to add, you don't have to go through this 15, but the 9 Lair Drive and 55 Franklin. Since we've done one at the stump and the other we're doing, so we don't forget to do these trees.
But now the 55 Franklin, that's Franklin, and all the trees are on the property.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
well, whether they're on the property or not,
There's something about the trees on Franklin,
yes,
I don't
yes.
know what it is.
Well, it gives everybody a month to look around town and figure out
It's
the best
smarter to
spots.
put the trees on the, not between the sidewalk and the curb.
Right, but
So they
with
are on the other
Franklin, there
side.
was something where they planted all of the trees on the property, not.
Well, we can work through that.
Yes, okay.
All right, I think we have a good compromise.
Okay, so if you take everything that we've kind of talked through to vote on tonight, the stump, 4 trees in Community Park, the 2 trees on Johnson Road, or 15 new trees, the fallen tree, and the Arbor Day, it is a total cost of $11,410.
What was on Johnson Road, what was?
Johnson Road is 2 trees behind
okay,
the
there,
welcome
yeah, I
to
got it
Morris
now,
Plains
yeah.
sign.
And
Yeah.
how much is that?
So that is 1040.
Okay.
And the community park.
I
trees.
will move that,
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
voice vote? Okay, good.
I apologize, I have to run to, for a family issue, so is it okay, is there anything else you need me for?
No.
Need a
we're-
ride home?
No, my wife's meeting, she has a work meeting, so I apologize, but I gotta run a little early, so.
Okay.
Thank you
No,
for
we're
coming out.
pretty much, we're pretty much done, yeah. Thanks, Roger.
You guys.
And once these are good, we're gonna do a letter to them.
Yeah, once we.
Yeah.
Yes.
As far as any other new business goes, before we close, does anyone else have anything?
So. Good.
Did you have anything for, I know we kind of did the public comment?
That's
Okay.
okay.
I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Well, make the motion.
So moved.
That
And
was
there
Rob.
he goes. And he's moving.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.